Hey, welcome back to the channel. So this video is basically going to talk about some pluses and minuses of this car. Minuses is a very short list, of course. The pluses are very long, but that's one of the main reasons I want to do in this video is to kind of go over some of the minuses that you have to look out for on these vehicles. When they first came out, the water pump gave out a lot. There were a lot of recalls on those. That's 90% of the reasons why they got a bad reputation in the beginning. They addressed that, they fixed that, and it's not really an issue anymore. And the other things I can think of that I kind of struggle with, trying to figure out what the problem was I spent like 6 months, working with the guy that helped me tune the car, John Russell, who probably most of you guys who know anything, know who that is. We struggled to try and figure out why I was having a drivability problem. It turned out to be the Vano solenoids, which is an inexpensive and easy fix. That was one of the things that took a while. And the other thing, of course, the water pump. Those usually go out pretty predictably about every maybe 80,000 miles. Best to go ahead and proactively replace that if you're starting to hit that mark, because the car will leave you stranded. It automatically shuts down. The reason it does that is because it does not want to overheat the motor, and so it's not going to let you, keep running the car until you overheat the motor, unlike a lot of other cars who are less sophisticated. And the only other issue that I had was we spent probably 7 or 8 months trying to figure out, when we were tuning the car in this current setup, why it was doing like a super knocking code, and that was a really tough one to figure out. And I feel kind of bad actually about it for John, because he was just supposed to be tuning the car. We kept thinking it was tuning problems, but it wasn't. It actually turned out to be the fact that I had a Generation 1 port injection set up on the car. And the Generation 1 port injection set up from split second, and also the port injectors themselves, were kind of known to have issues and not be very good. Combined with the fact that it was like 3 years old. And we tried just about everything else, to figure out what the problem was while I was doing that. Finally, I kept hitting this wall of like 25 PSI, after that it would just give me this super knocking code. And he would play with the fuel and everything and try to figure it out, and we would do it again. And finally I was like, oh man, basically the only thing left is the port injection setup. And so sure enough, the last thing that I did to the car was tore all that out and went to a reflex setup from Motive, and went to a full flex fuel setup on the car, and also replaced the injectors with brand new Bosch port injection injectors, and went through and did a few other ancillary things, but I also changed the manifold, the intake manifold, to a BMS intake manifold, where the port injectors are actually on top of the manifold. And so, that last round of changes, replacing that old PI setup did the trick. And so, now the car basically doesn't have any limits as far as all that goes. I've actually run out of turbo on this car, believe it or not. I have pure stage 2 high flow turbos in this car, and they are now the limiting factor on the car. We have fueling for days now that we got the reflex in there and the port injection setup fixed. And so, there's other small issues with these cars, that aren't probably worth mentioning. Here's the deal too, is all cars have some problems. How many of the little Japanese cars, like Hondas and stuff, are they running around, Hondas and Toyotas and things like that, that if you don't replace that timing belt, at 80, 90,000 miles, it blows your whole motor if you have an automatic transmission. So yeah, all cars have some problems. You just have to know what they are and plan for them, and do good maintenance on them and everything. That's kind of the key there. And I've done that on this car, and I haven't had any problems. I did have the water pump go bad and leave me stranded once. Yeah, I'll admit that. But other than that, very small problems here and there. Just regular stuff like brakes and stuff. It's really been a fantastic car, as did my last 335. So yeah, those are some of the main pitfalls. The high performance fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump, will need to be replaced at some point. I think that's like several $100s. If you do have a port injection set up on it, use reflex and some good injectors and stuff like that. The Vanos solenoids, that did take a little while to figure that one out. It wasn't 30 codes or anything. Other than that, fantastic vehicles in my opinion. Some of the very best cars on the road, best buys you can spend money on. They're still out there. They can be found, especially with all-wheel drive. There's even some here in Dallas right now for sale. I recommend them to anyone who's considering any alternative sports sedan, like a Mustang or a Camaro or Audi, which I feel all Audis are just terrible, horrible vehicles that don't last. What to buy these things are, I'll probably never get rid of this car. I've had it now for about 4 years, and I just love every minute I spend in it.